How is it going, everybody? I am Husky's Ghost, and I gotta talk about games a lot more than just the usual stuff I do with this channel. And I figured, you know what? There's one game that I actually do like to talk about, and it's a game that's very much having a touchy subject, I guess, because people are almost to the point they're scared to talk about this game, and I can understand why. Anyways, I'm a big gamer. Anybody who's watched me before, know me. You know I'm a big gaming person, and it would be kind of weird if I did not talk about PlayStation 4's highest anticipated game of the year, and that would be Hideo Kojima's game, Death Stranding. Alright, so I've been pretty quiet about Death Stranding in this channel, and obviously I have been a fan of Kojima's games, of Metal Gear Solid. So of course, with the whole hoo-ha that happened with Konami and Kojima, everyone was all saying, okay, what now? Then Kojima came out, said that he has a new Kojima Productions, and he is on his way to making a new game that wasn't Silent Hills. And apparently the game is going to be very different. And it's been a mystery for the longest time. He can show us trailers, and we will have no idea what we're looking at. We don't know what the game was about. And now that the game is finally here, we all realize the trailers that we've been watching was actually the game. And it was one of those moments, it seemed like we were pulled. We were being pulled by a string. And just want to know more about this game, and we never realized what we saw was the game. So, that means Death Stranding is indeed what people out there joked about. It is somewhat a walking simulator, or a UPS mail delivery simulator. But the thing is, the game, yes, what we've seen is the game. There's a lot of walking, there's a lot of delivering. On paper, and what we see, the game seems boring. The game is supposed to be boring. But I love it. There were my moments that I was doubtful with this game. As hyped and excited I was with Death Stranding, there were parts on it about this game that I was thinking, what if it's not all that good as it comes out to be? What if we're just overhyping a game that doesn't seem to be that great? What if the game flops? Well, what if the game is not that great? I had that worry, but you know what? I still went ahead and had the game pre-ordered, and I picked it up day one. Picked it up at midnight launch, actually, and I dove right in. I was still excited to play the game because I was finally able to see what this game is. And for what it is, it's supposed to be a boring game. But again, oddly enough, this is probably one of my most favorite PS4 games I've played. And that's probably going to confuse a lot of people who just heard those words. So let me explain why I love Death Stranding. So the game itself, yes, there is a lot of traveling. That's actually the game. It's to get your packages and deliver them. The story of the game is that you're living in a apocalyptic America. It's been wiped out. It's been ruined. It's in ruins right now. It's being taken over by these creatures, these dead beings, these ghosts, and they're called BTs, which stands for Beached Things, apparently. And these BTs are pretty much the main threat of the Death Stranding. And then there's also the other enemies. You got the mules, which are like, I guess what's he called, hormone demons or something like that. They are the other enemies that will pretty much track you down and steal your packages. They're pretty much doing the same that you're doing it, but for the wrong reasons. Now, what people say, let me go ahead and put it this way. Let me just try to start this from bits and pieces, because the game is so clustered, it's kind of hard to talk about. But let me just go ahead and talk. Let me just try to go one at a time here. So when people say this is a walking simulator, and there are people out there thinking that is all the game is. You walk from point A to point B with no action involved, and I cannot say that is unfortunately half true, but also pretty wrong too. Yes, there is walking, and there are some times you could walk to point A to point B with no problem, but there is aspects. The thing is, there are people out there that complain about there was no quick travel. There's no way you could skip, to one location to another, and I'm happy for that. Usually, most of the time when games like that, you kind of hope for, a quick point, where you could just be at this one spot and go to a different location. The thing is, the game doesn't need that. The game doesn't rely on that stuff, because the journey to point A to point B to point C and then back to point A to point C and back and forth and of course you go to other newer locations too, point F, point Z. The walking, that is the journey. That is the game. Now, I know that some people will be thinking, wow, that just sounds really boring. All you just do is you pack up your backpack and you start walking, to just one location to another. And the thing is, yes, but there are things you have to consider. With the game, you have a map, but you have to plan your route. You have to check what area seems to be good, and if you're connected online, look through the map. Maybe see if there's any paths that were laid up by ladders. See if there's a bike nearby. Just kind of see all the path of what other players have laid out, or you could go ahead and go throughout your own path and see what works best for you, because there's a lot of things to look out for. Terrain is one of them. Walking through having to deal with cliffs and rocks and climbing situations. That stuff is something to consider. Even crossing rivers. Crossing rivers is something you have to consider as well. And then you have to avoid the mules, and also watch out for the weather, because you will also run into BTs and timefall. Now, let's go ahead and say that you're packed up, you're ready to go, you're on your journey. Sam, there's a feature where, depending how much stuff you got on you, it's a bit more of a challenge, because you do have a balance system. You have to kind of balance your cargo, because the main thing about getting to point A to point B is to make sure your cargo is in good condition. You do not want to damage your cargo, and that is the game. You have to deliver the packages without destroying the packages. And there is stuff on the open field that will try to damage those packages of yours. And I am surprised how many people, especially being connected online with Death Stranding, a lot of people have lost their cargo. There's some people out there that lost their cargo, probably threw it out there, got attacked by a mule probably, got attacked by BTs, forgot their cargo, and they just left it there. They are left all over the place, so I haven't had much issues losing my cargo, but it seems like a lot of other people have. And you guys gotta stop it, because I get overloaded. But you gotta make sure you got your cargo with you. You gotta make sure your cargo is in good condition, because there is a damage meter. Sometimes the cargo will have a damage meter, and then the contents that's inside the cargo will also get damaged. So there's kind of like two type of health bars when it comes to your cargo. But you have to watch your terrain, make sure that you're not going through areas where you will easily fall off a cliff or something like that, and end up damaging your cargo. And the amount of cargo you carry does matter. I mean, there are points that your cargo will be like a big old stack, and you'll still be holding 2 packages on your hands, and that makes a big difference. I mean, you are having to lift and carry this crap from point A all the way to point B, which could actually end up being a 15-minute walk. And not just terrain, not just climbing areas, especially if you already got a location where you have to climb a ladder or something like that, and you're already carrying like 2 cargoes in your hands. It's difficult. It's difficult to climb places, especially if you are very loaded. But that also goes with the enemies. You do have the mules. What they do is that they have their own territory. If you cross their territory, they will try to track down where you're at by finding the packages that you're trying to deliver. They will try to steal those packages from you. And the stealth in this is actually, for me, it's nothing like Metal Gear Solid. And in fact, there's actually times that hiding here, it's almost kind of pointless. There are times you could be able to sneak around them, but they will manage to catch you one way or another because they can actually find you pretty far away. There are sometimes I had enemies pretty clear out there and they saw me walking and they'll be like, oh, there he is, I'm going to go get him. So the mules, they can be a pain in the butt, but thankfully they're not that hard to fight. As a matter of fact, they're actually pretty stupid. But if you do run from them, they will try to stop you. They'll throw these spears that will electrocute the floor and pretty much kind of slow you down, sometimes tipping you over. And there are times you do have to fight them. I mean, and they will sometimes surround you. You'll have your bowling gun, or you could punch them in the face. Even the weapons in this is pretty crazy, but I'll get to that here in a minute. But there are times you will be surrounded. There's other times you might actually find yourself you have to fight these people off, because sometimes if you fight off the mules, you could be able to take their cargo as well. If you got some room to take some cargo with you, you could go ahead and take theirs. You could take their ladders. Sometimes they'll have other players' lost cargoes. You could be able to take those from them. You could also sneak into their base and try to take some of their cargo as well, because some of them they have some useful weapons and items you could use. If you're missing a ladder, they'll have a ladder sitting somewhere. Sometimes they'll have other players' lost cargo. Go ahead and retrieve those. And there are some missions that do actually have you go into their base. So dealing with the mules, a little simple. It just kind of depends how you want to tackle the situation. But the BTs, this is where the game actually gets a little bit of a challenge. Now remember what I've been telling you, you have to keep your cargo safe. And when the BTs are here, or especially when it rains, those are the two things you really have to look out for. When it rains, it is the rain here in this game is called timefall. And what it is that when the rain falls, anything the rain touches fast forwards time. So if a rain touches your body will travel fast forward to time. So if you get drenched with this rain, you're going to become a very old man within seconds, and then you can die. So that's why Sam and other characters in this, they wear these coats. They have to cover themselves up when it rains. That's the reason why they wear these coats. So that way they don't get affected by the rain. However, the ones that don't get affected, or what I'm trying to say, is that the only things that do get affected with the rain is your cargo. There's nothing covering your cargo. So when you're carrying some important stuff, especially some fragile cargo, that stuff you really have to look out for, and the rain can really ruin your day for that. Because once it touches the cargo, it damages it, because it's getting rusty. The cargo is getting older and older, a lot more quickly because of the rain. And seriously, if this rain turns you into an old geezer within 10 seconds, imagine how damaging cargo can be if it's set out for years, to a point that just touching the cargo will end up making it go poof. That's what you don't want. And avoiding the rain it's indeed an option. Avoiding rain is an option if you're a very patient person. There are times I find players making shelters for rain, and also comes with an automatic repair thing to help repair your damaged cargo. Or you could go ahead and find some kind of cave nearby if you're lucky enough, and just sit out at the cave. And it's also a good time to have Sam rest. Just make him sit down, massage his shoulders, stretch his legs, and give him a little bit of a rest, because sometimes resting in this game does help out Sam. And it kind of gives you a little bit of a break too, because this game does not rely on in-game time. The game relies in real time. So if there will be a point in the game you do get a weather system, so you'll be able to take a look at the forecast of, you know, where the weather is and where the rain will be hitting. There will be times the rain will be hitting a spot for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. You have to wait in the cave for a straight 10 minutes if you do not want to damage your cargo. There's other times that I had rain sitting there for 30 minutes. Of course, I didn't sit, you know, have Sam fall asleep for 30 minutes. Of course, I actually got up and got going at some point. But there is an option. And even though some people will probably hate that feature, I, for one, actually love it. I love that feature because it kind of makes you wonder what you need to do. What is the path you want to do? Because some cargo, not all of them, but some of them, you have to get to them at a specific time. There's some cargo you have to have it delivered within 30 minutes. There's some that you have to have it delivered within 45 minutes. So sometimes sitting around in the rain, risking your cargo to get completely damaged, sometimes you have to risk it and try to get out of the rain. And sometimes if you have a PCC with it, you could be able to build a shelter if you got the right materials for it. So that does help out a little bit. But if you don't, you have to pray to God that somebody has made a shelter for you, or hopefully you could be able to find a cave to relax on for at least about 5 minutes. And if the rain is something to not completely to be worried about, you should be worried about the BTs. Now the BTs, they are the creatures of this game. They are the ghosts that you have to avoid. And when the BTs come, you have to be slow. You have to crouch down and you have to stop a couple times to figure out where these BTs are. Because once you start moving, you don't see them. But if you hold still, you'll find their shadows. You'll find their cords, you know, flying around and stuff. And the thing is, you have to go slow. If you get too close to a BT, you have to hold your breath. And you have a bar, like a gauge there for how long you can hold your breath for. And you have to go slow and you have to go carefully with this. Because again, your cargo matters. You do not want to damage your cargo as much as it possibly can get damaged. And the thing is, while you're hiding from these BTs and when you have to crouch down and be a little slow sneaking through these BTs, the rain takes a heavy effect. The rain starts kicking in, and that also makes it pretty stressful because you're having cargo there that is already taken damage, and now you have to slow yourself down to avoid these enemies you do not want to be caught with. So you're having cargo getting damaged, but at the same time, you're trying to survive yourself. And if a BT catches you, you do have a chance to kind of run away, but they will catch up on you and you'll be like surrounded with this black puddle. And they'll try to drag you down, but you do have a chance to kind of shake them all off and try to get out of the BT's ways and then be able to escape. But if you do not escape but they drag you down, they will take you to a boss fight. And once that boss fight happens, your cargo goes... Do not worry about picking up your cargo because now you have a boss fight to handle. And now the boss fights and dealing with the enemies and meals and BTs, there is weapons you can use. But it's best to use non-lethal. So what is it about these creatures? How do you defeat these creatures? Excuse me, I'm gonna go take a piss.
Grenade number 1.
Alright, I took that piss. It is now my grenade. That's right. When you're in a private room with Sam, you'll be able to just kind of relax, get, you know, have a energy drink, kind of give you like an extra boost of stamina and such. There's also an option to get not Norman Reedus, but you know, Sam, have him to take a shower, take a pee, and go at number 2. And you know what, some games sometimes that's just a feature to just look at, you know, it's just something that's kind of like, that's so funny, that's so awesome. In this game, it's a way to reload your ammo, pretty much. When you have Sam take a shower, you use that as grenades. When you have Sam take a piss, that's a grenade. If you take him take a poo-poo, that can also be used as a grenade. Now, aside of having to chuck these grenades at a meal, sometimes there will be times you'll be trying to fight, like a fist fight a meal, and they'll be blocking your attacks. You can also throw this crap at a meal, and they'll slip up and be all freaking out and stuff, and that creates an opening for them where you can finally whale them in. But it can also damage BTs. BTs, that's my dog. BTs get damaged through your own bodily fluids. So, with your fluids of your body, is it's used against the enemies. So when Kojima said that your own pee could be used as a weapon, he meant it, because BTs get hurt from your own piss. And not just that, you will also later on get these grenades that will actually be part of Sam's blood. So again, bodily fluids is your weapon against these enemies. So once you get into a boss fight, with a BT boss fight, make sure you load it up with a couple grenades, because you're going to need those. And that's how you fight them. You're using your body fluids to kill these creatures. But the reason, I mean, even though you do like to have some action, avoiding the BTs as much as possible is the best route to do, because once you're put up against a boss, that can heavily damage your cargo, and especially if you're trying to try to transfer cargo that requires minimum damage possible. Those cargo will get damaged really easily, and triggering a boss fight can almost guarantee breaking that cargo, and you do not want that to happen. So avoiding BTs is indeed a thing, and people do get frustrated every time you get caught by a BT and have to go into this boss fight. Well, guess what? Try to not purposely get caught by a BT. That is the purpose. You're trying to transfer your cargo without getting damaged as much as possible by avoiding enemies and getting to your next destination. That's why I love this game. It's different. I mean, if it was a complete walking simulator with no danger whatsoever, the game will get pretty boring. But the game isn't. It's a weird thing to talk about, is that it should be a boring game, but it's not. Every travel that I make to go to point A to point B, there's something there that's trying to stop me. There's challenges up there that kind of makes you want to stop and go, okay, how am I going to handle this? There were times that I was stopped in my tracks because there's a cliff right here. I got nothing to go down this cliff. I have to try to find another way to go down. There's other times I tried to try to get my bike up a hill, and sometimes that wasn't all that great either. So there's a lot of thinking, there's a lot of strategy in this game, to be honest, on how to figure out how to get to point A, to point C, back to point B, back to point A, all the way to point F. You know, it's just planning your journey is the game. And as boring as that sounds, once you pick up a controller and you start playing it, it gets addicting. And that's why it's so weird. Now, it's definitely a game not for everybody. It's not a game that I can recommend to an everyday person. If you're into games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, Last of Us, Resident Evil, you know, if you're into games that likes to give you non-stop action, this game is not for you. But if you do have the patience and you do have the mind to do straight up strategy, and just kind of go for a relaxing journey with a bit of tense here and there, Death Stranding might be up your alley. And the story is not as complex as we all thought it was. There's sometimes you'll be looking at a trailer, so you're like, I still don't understand it. The thing is, when you're looking at the trailer, it's right there. You have the reason to be understanding it, because you're not used to seeing a game to be this different. You've never seen a game to be so literal with you, to a point it shows you this is the game. You're like, wait, what? And there are some crazy points. I mean, there are points that can end up, you know, messing up your mission, and you just really have to kind of think about what to do with your cargo and how to safely deliver it. Now, the reason why I like this game so much is that, sure, I do like Kojima's work, but I'm not biased. You know, if the game was crap, I wouldn't be afraid to admit it. The game would be crap. You know, I wouldn't like it. I'll be taking the game back. But I put in so many hours in this game. I know I'm only on chapter 3. And there's like, I don't know how many chapters. There's like over 10. I think there's like 16 chapters or something like that. There's so many chapters. I'm only on chapter 3, and I put in almost a week's worth. Well, not really almost a week's worth, because the game came out Friday. So, again, close to a week, but I'm still on chapter 3. And I'm taking my time on this game because I'm trying to process what the game was. And then when I finally processed it and making deliveries, the game hooked me. it's addicting. And that's weird. It's a game that should be boring, but it's addicting. And it's different. It's totally different because of that. So, you know what? I know there's people out there that will say, you know, if you like this game, you're a Kojima fanboy. You like trash games, and I do not appreciate your taste in games. They cannot be more wrong about that, because if the game was crap and if I didn't like the game, I will run up and say it. I would say I didn't like this game. But for me and my personal taste, I am loving this game. It's actually pretty high up there on probably my favorite games. And I'm not even done with it. Like, I want to pick up and play it again, but I'm right here making a video about it because I played enough to express my opinions on the game. And then there's people out there that just do not understand why people like it. But the people out there that don't like this game but respect the people that do like it, you know, kudos to you. The game is not for everybody. If you do not like this game, it's understandable. You know, it's not for everyone. But if you're calling the game trash and the people who play are trash, you gotta stop that. Because not every game is there for everybody. Like for me, I'm not a big on The Legend of Zelda. I never really cared much for those games. Does that mean those games are bad? No, absolutely not. I think the Legend of Zelda games are probably one of the most masterpieceable games made. But for some odd reason, I can't get into them. But that's okay. I'm happy for the people that do, because I know there's a lot of people that love The Legend of Zelda. But it's just not my kind of game. Which is kind of weird, because I'm into games that are like Zelda, but I don't like Zelda? That's weird. So, for those who are wondering if this game is for you, if you have the patience, if you have the open mind, able to accept the fact that this game is supposed to be taken very slow, with a bit of tense to it, this game might be for you. But it's definitely a game you have to pick up and play a couple hours of to completely understand this game is for you or not. Because watching it and hearing people's opinions on it sometimes just isn't enough. This is actually one of those games you have to pick up and play to know for sure if it's for you or not. But if you're not into the patience and you don't have the patience for that and not into the slow pace of games, they're not for you. So that is my thoughts on Death Stranding. I personally love the game and I can't wait to jump back more into it. But I know there's people out there that are still a little confused about what the game is about. I did try to explain as much as I can about what, you know, the game is, what you have to do in the game, and what about it that makes it so addicting. And hopefully this video helps some people out there. But for me, I love the game. I'm enjoying it, and if you're enjoying Death Stranding, I'd like to hear what you guys think of the game. But if not, you know, that's fine. I mean, it's not for everybody, but please be respectful for those that do like the game. And yes, there are fanboys out there. But for me, I'm looking at the game for what it is. And to be honest, I really got no problem with it because it's something different, and I like different. And it's a break away from, you know, the other kind of games that we play, so that's always nice. And plus, you know, Norman Reedus. You can look at his butt, and you can look at his crotch. But I won't recommend that because he'll punch you. Well, until next time, guys. I'll catch you all later.